That was Manowar and Brothers of Metal, the true metal anthem of the week. Usually I do two, but we're going to be a little short on time because we have so many great things to talk about this year. So again, welcome back to CJSW on 90.9 FM. And a little bit of housekeeping, as always, when we start each and every show. I want to say welcome to all our listeners who are tuning in around the world on www.cjsw.com. Also, our friends and family in Western Canada who listen on the TELUS TV network. Channel 7065 carries our signal, so everyone out in Vancouver and so on can hear. And another great way to get in touch with Megawatt and all the great shows is Facebook. So it's facebook.com/Megawatt Mayhem, where each and every week I post up our playlists, things that we're bringing up next week or stuff that we've done in post weeks, and you're very welcome to leave your comments, requests, and suggestions. Now, tonight is a pre-recorded program, mostly because my colleagues here didn't want to get out of bed at midnight and come down in the minus 25 weather to the station, so we're doing it during the afternoon. So the phone lines are not open, the texts are not open tonight, but next week I'll be back doing it live, and then you can feel free to contact me live at that point. So, let's get into it now. We're going to go around the room from my left to your right. I'm not sure how that's going to pan out in an audio stereo. I need some sort of mirror image. But we're going to introduce our guests. So, we're going to first say hello to the Baron. Hello, Baron. Welcome back to the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have me here. Delighted to be here. It's good to see you live and in action.
It is a pleasure to have you, as always.
As opposed to just imagining you.
That's right, that's right. And to your immediate left, we are talking to Evan. Hi, Ev.
I am on the radio.
Hi, Mom. Yeah, I'm on TV and radio.
I would have come in late.
Yeah.
It would have been the Evan and JP show then.
That's right. Thank you for joining us. And Power Metal Mike is up next. Hello.
Good. How you doing?
Welcome back, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
And the Necronaut.
Hello, JP.
Back
Mental
again.
Metal Mania.
Yes, welcome one and all. And we want to say a special thanks to our engineering crew today. Braden's helping us behind the scenes. And most of all, Kevin from SoundsDeliciousDJ.com, who is filming and recording, and he's got these like robotic cameras which look like Terminator things to me, with like rotating and lights, and it's awesome. And so and you're going to be able to actually watch this episode at some point in the very near future, which is exciting.
We have to make it more action-packed somehow.
We do.
We'll bust up this drum kit behind us.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Well, it's like the old cliche we were joking earlier. We all have the perfect face for radio and the voice for newsprint, right? So we're ready. We're ready to go.
All right. The camera, hookers and beer.
Yeah, hookers and beer, Mike says. All right. And that's Mike on that camera. Zoom in on Mike for the hookers and beer. All right. So what we're doing this year is our annual 2019 year in review show. This, I think that, Evan, you're the historian of the show. This is about the 10th year, right? I think we did about 7 and took about 5 years off, and now this is the third back.
You did a few years, yeah, before I came on. My first year was 2008, and then we did 09, and then we took the big long hiatus until 20... Oh, it would be good if I had the microphone in front of me.
There we go.
Yeah, it came on in 08, and then and we had a big long hiatus, and we came back in 2017. So
this is a third consecutive year in a row where our panel of guests has joined us.
I certainly remember being here in 2004. It would have been January 2005, because I picked Still Hungry, which came out in 2004, if I recall.
Yes, for your 30th anniversary.
The 20th anniversary, yeah.
Pick. That's right.
Of 1984, Stay Hungry. So, and then I think we might have done a few before that. So it was early 21st century for sure.
Yeah, the tradition continues here on Megawatt. And the format, we're just going to go and talk to our local experts, have a chance to talk about themselves, what they liked about the year, what they didn't like about the year. So let's touch on that first, go around the room and say, what were your general impressions of 2019? And Baron, let's start with you.
So tell everybody who maybe can't see us what shirt I'm wearing.
Well, there's a band called Rush, who you may have heard of, and they are sort of honorary members of Megawatt Mayhem. We do occasionally dip into some Rush songs. What can you say?
The last 24 hours have been horrible, for Rush fans. I mean, we know that. It's a 2020 event, but obviously Neil Peart was dying in 2019, right? So not good, not good. So this year has started off very poorly. 2019 to me was a blah year. A lot of my bands didn't release stuff, so it was a bit of a thing there.
Flat.
But what I did enjoy about 2019, and we'll discuss this later, I think, is maybe some of the movies and docudramas and stuff of various bands that we liked. So that was actually the key to me for 2019 was that sort of trend last year.
Including the Rush movie, which we'll talk about. Which
That's
came out
right,
in
yes. Yeah,
2019
we
as well.
enjoyed going to that one.
Excellent. All right, Evan, impressions of 2019.
So every single year since you started this again, everyone's gone around and said how the year was pretty much disappointing, not as good as normal. And this year, I think, is the first year that changed that. 2019, the decade ended on a strong note, and there were so many, at least from the melodic and power metal scene, there were so many bands that didn't even make my top 6 that did great albums, like Sabaton, Dragon Force, Hammerfall. All the big names came back. I mean, we're pretty much only missing Stradivarius or something. So, 2017 was a great year.
And this is great
Or
because
2019.
in previous years we haven't filmed this, so now Mike's shaking his head already in disagreement.
Yeah.
This is the best part of the show is we get to make
the new Dragon Force.
we get to make fun of each other and our bad taste in music. So, Power Metal Mike, 2019.
2019 was a fabulous year for music. For me, I'm going to agree with what Evan said. There was a lot of bands that came out. It was a very, very hard year to even come up with the top 20. Never mind 5 or 6 we're going to pick tonight. You had some heavy hitters. Still nothing from Primal Fear or Halloween or Blind Guardian. So it's yet to come for the heavy hitters, but I discovered lots of new bands this year. It was great. So to me, 2019 is probably one of the best years we've had in a very long time.
Fantastic. And the Necronaut, was it a dark and evil year, which is a good thing?
It was a lot better than 2018. 2018 was pretty disappointing. So yeah, I was moderately impressed. The Baron said that there wasn't a lot coming out for bands that he listens to. I kind of felt similar in that nature, but that just made me dig a little deeper and discover new bands that I'll play a couple tonight.
Right on. And my overall quick take on it is that there's never been a bad year for metal since 1970, but but that's all right. So we're going to start off with the Baron and the known as the commercial conscience of the show over the years. And
I've never. You've known me for 23 years. Mm-hmm. I've never once claimed to be a metal fan. I'm a rock and roll fan that likes a lot of metal.
Yeah, which is totally fair. So,
I mean, as everyone knows, my skew will likely be towards the more hard rock type of thing. So be it. And that's how we're going to start with this first choice. AC/DC should have recorded and released an album last year. I don't know what happened. They were spotted in Vancouver.
Yes, like all of them.
Nothing came of that we know of, or maybe like Iron Maiden's album, it's just been sitting on the shelf for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but the next best alternative to AC/DC is Airborne.
Airborne. Tell us about Airborne.
Well, Airborne, pretty meat and potatoes band. What you see is what you get.
Mm-hmm.
If I may quote a famous movie, the musical growth rate of this band can't even begin to be charted. Treading sea of a retarded sexuality and bad poetry. That's Airborne, and that's what we want. That's what we're going to get. So the title track that we're going to play, Bone Shaker, is actually a perfect example of the Airborne style.
Right on. So let's do it. I was going to say brand new. It's not brand new. It's a year old now.
It came out mid last year, yes.
Mid last year. All right. So we're going to hear from the most recent Airborne album. This is Bone Shaker on Megawatt Mayhem. And that is Airborne with Bone Shaker, the Baron's first pick of the year for a highlight of 2019.
I thought we'd go with an up pace, get the momentum going.
I totally agree. Well done. All right, let's swing around the horn now. Evan,
Yes.
tell us.
I think we're going to start things out with another big name that did an album this year, Freedom Call. The Mighty Freedom Call. Closest thing I could describe it to is like heavy metal hymns. That's what Freedom Call does.
Totally.
This is, I realized, the big album number 10 in their 20 years since they did Stairway to Fairyland in 1999.
That's a good pace.
Yeah, 2000 was when I first discovered them, and I've liked them ever since, except for 2007 when they did Dimensions, but we'll forget about that one. They kind of lost a bit of steam, but then I think they came strongest back in 2014 with Beyond, and they've been strong ever since.
And we are back. That was Airborne from the 2019 album, and the track was Bone Shaker. Baron, what was the name of the album? We forgot. I think we forgot to say.
It was Bone Shaker as well. That was the
Bone
title
Shaker.
track.
Title
So
track.
made life easy.
So
I just thought it'd be nice to have a bit of momentum and adrenaline going at the beginning of the show. So others will pick it up from there, I'm sure.
beautiful.
It was good they got
right.
Brian Johnson to do the guest vocals on that song.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big score for them.
Like I said, AC/DC didn't deliver, Airborne did.
All right. Evan, hey, tell us 2019, what was your first pick of the year?
We're going to hear from Freedom Call. That's right, one of those big bands that released a big power metal album this year, and it was called METAL. Don't know what it spells though, but it's something awesome. So Freedom Call, if anyone doesn't know, they do the closest thing you could describe them is like heavy metal hymns. And I realized this is Mighty album number 10. And it's been, the 10th album. The first one was Stairway to Fairyland back in 1999. So that's 20 years and 10 albums. So that's, that's more than 20. No, 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah, 20 years.
That seems like a lot of albums to me for some reason, so... Anyways, the only thing I could give these guys the knock is maybe that the album cover, on the past two especially, has just been really uninspired. It's like the horns, a hand giving the evil eye that says metal in front of it. And they used to have these, crimson warriors and... They had,
Epic landscapes and planets and...
and now the past two, it's just been... Come on, that's the one knock I can give it, but we're going to start things off tonight hearing their song 111, The Number of Angels. It was Chris Bay and Freedom Call.
Chris Bay and Freedom Call.
One of my top 5 picks of the year.
Right on. Very good. Now for Power Metal, Mike, welcome back to Megawatt Mayhem. And what have you got for us? What caught your ear?
Starting off this year, we're going to go with probably one of Sweden's biggest bands, Sabaton.
Sabaton, yep.
Right from the get-go, they slowly been getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and they've done 3 times now at Calgary, sold out at the Palace, so they're doing something right.
They are. That was a great show.
Every show they do is great. One of the best live bands I've ever seen. Like, the second time I've seen them, to me, it was even a better show than the Iron Maiden show was.
Those
Like
rear screen projections were amazing.
And they just grabbed the crowd like, what a front man. He knows how to get people to do what he wants.
Yep.
That's so good. So, we're got the new album called The Great War. It's their 9th album that they've done since they've started. You can't count the first EP, even though I do, but you can't.
I do too.
This is the first album featuring Tommy Johansson, which is an amazing vocalist, amazing guitar player. A lot of Sabaton fans are probably going to say this album is a little different, and that's why I like it so much. It's not typical Sabaton over and over and over. There's a little edge to it this time, a little different. I was wondering why until you see the credits and Tommy Johansson's name's all over it.
Right.
So we're going to hear 7 Pillars of Wisdom.
Excellent. And of course, it is a war-themed album. That was a bit of a surprise for me.
Really big surprise. Yeah.
All right, so let's do it. Sabaton from 2019 from their 9th or 10th album, depends how you count.
That's right.
The Great War. And the song we're going to hear, 7 Pillars of Wisdom on Megawatt Mayhem.
Sabaton.
7 Pillars of Wisdom from The Great War. And it was cool. I thought about this as they had 2 versions. They had the deluxe edition, which had the narration in between songs, and you could listen to a little bit of history between each
Yes.
songs and actually play that album in its entirety on our Remembrance Day show back
Yep.
in Megawatt Mayhem, as fans may remember. So it's a good pick for 2019.
That's my favorite song off that album.
So excellent.
Had to.
So now we need to inject a much needed
Heaviness.
element of darkness and evil into the show. The Necronaut.
Oh, hello.
He's just like rolling his eyes. We're talking about, oh, we like Hammerfall. He's like, oh my God, these losers. Okay, so
I'll
that's not
bring the
totally true.
darkness.
You'll bring the darkness. All right, what have you got for us? What was 2019 all about? for you?
Like I said, discovering new bands to me. So we're going to check out a band that was recently brought to my attention by a friend. They've been around for about a decade already. Their name is Shamash. They're from Switzerland. And they recently released an album called Hearts of No Light. Yes, so we're going to hear a track called Paradigm of Beauty. All right, that was A Paradigm of Beauty by Shamash, bringing it up to a bit darker level and a bit heavier.
A bit darker and a bit heavier. And speaking of sort of heavy news, earlier in the show we were talking about people who are no longer with us, specifically Neil Peart, passing away just a couple days ago, putting a bit of a dark pall on the world of hard rock and progressive rock. But there were also, unfortunately, people who left the hard rock and heavy metal community in 2019. And we're just going to briefly touch on that. I know that Necronaut, Timmy from Merciful Fate.
Yeah, Timmy Hansen, passed away from cancer, right? Yeah.
Yep, not that long ago. Was it November?
It was very recent, yeah.
Yeah, and not young either.
No, I think he was like 61 or something.
Yeah. And from Brazil, one of Brazil's...
Andre Mateos, yeah.
And really young, like heart attack age. He's younger than me.
I think he's definitely
He's
in
like
his
47 or something, wasn't it?
mid-40s, yeah.
Yeah. Just bang.
And
Done.
It's not like he was a nobody. He had a very successful career with Angra, Avantasia, Shaman, and solo albums. Like, he was considered very high for power metal singers in the world.
Prolific.
So, yeah.
And we also had, who else? Oh yeah, from Morbid Angel, Richard Brunel, original guitarist from Morbid Angel.
Right.
As well. That was kind of a big loss for the death metal community. And I mean, I do my annual, Killed by Death show, and there's a couple hundred people every year. But there are those ones that just seem to resonate a little bit more. And one that kind of hit our more melodic end of the scale here were Tony Mills.
Well, I quite like Tony Mills with TNT, quite frankly. I didn't really know much about TNT until I remember you gave me their Atlantis CD and said, hey, you'll like these guys, check them out. And so then I ended up buying quite a few of the TNT oeuvre with both Tony Harnell and the new guy as well. So, but I quite liked Tony Mills. I mean, I guess it's one of those things, you fall in love with your first singer maybe, and he was my first singer with them, even though he wasn't. So I quite like the three albums, the New Territory, Atlantis, and A Farewell to Arms. I quite enjoy them. I still listen to them. So I was quite shocked and sad that he passed away at 58 years old. Not an old man.
I always thought that band was an interesting case study. Norwegian band with international singers. They had a Norwegian, and then they had a Yankee, then they had a Brit, and now a Spaniard. See, that's not politically correct language, but that's okay.
Well, they're from where they're from.
They're from where they're from. So it's like they just picked the best singer. It doesn't have to be their buddy from their country. So, and Ev, you had some thoughts on Tony Mills.
Yeah, well, those early Shy albums, especially Access All Areas, is just known to be a cult classic in terms of AOR, melodic hard rock, and it was completely his voice that really brought it to life.
Yeah, I agree, for sure. So, on to happier notes. We're going to get back to the Baron, and we're going to do another round of picks for 2019, and you've got something for us.
Well, yeah, I'd just like to iterate that it's not just the Necronaut that brings the darkness to the show.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. Foreshadowing.
Well, I know our friend Curmudgeon, who's sadly not with us today, is a big Darkness fan as well, so this is dedicated to him as well. It's called Heavy Metal Lover. It's off of their Easter is Cancelled album, which there are so many good songs on this thing that I was sad to only be able to choose one. I could have picked 4 or 5, but I picked Heavy Metal Lover because it deals with their love of heavy metal.
Well, that seems like a pretty reasonable thing to
So,
sing about
so
if
that
that's
was the
gonna be-
tiebreaker. Absolutely, absolutely. So, a bit of an earworm. You'll be singing this in your sleep tonight, and the boys, Justin Hawkins, sings wonderfully as well. And there's a few slight twists on this song that the heavier people will like.
All right, well, let's do it. This is Heavy Metal Lover on Megawatt Mayhem.
It doesn't seem right unless I bring a darkness song here.
That's right.
And I know the curmudgeon always wants them.
And it needed a little more cowbell, but that was a pretty awesome song.
You know, that type of darkness would have me rolling around in my grave when I'm dead.
That's the great thing about this live panel is we get to make fun of each other's taste in music. So
That's great. No, you're right. It
that's
is.
right.
You can only tease things that you enjoy.
That's right. That's right. All right, continuing around the circle, Ev, what have you got queued up for us next?
Well, I've gone one song without the synths, so I have to bring in something with really
Some synthesizer.
heavy keyboards in it.
Yeah, I know.
So we're going to hear from Work of Art on the Frontiers label. They are, of course, the W in WET. They've just released their 4th album, and it's been 5 years since their last one, Framework.
Mm-hmm.
New one's called Exhibits. And
We're staying with the art theme, of course.
yes,
The album cover art and the title and everything, so that's kind of neat.
yeah. And on the track we're going to hear, there's the guest keyboardist, if you will, I guess, Vince DiCola. Now, he was known for, I guess he did the arrangements on the 80s Transformer movie, as well as Rocky IV. So he's a programmer, keyboardist, and...
An early adapter.
yeah. So we're going to be hearing from... we're going to be hearing from him. Here's a track from Exhibits called This Isn't Love.
Are back listening to Megawatt Mayhem here on CJSW 90.9 FM, and that truly was a work of art.
Yeah, from Lars
Evan's
Safson and the boys.
Yeah, fantastic. And I want to remind you that coming up in 2 short hours, Catherine in Nightmare Delirium will be on the air, so you're going to want to stay tuned for her program of gothic, ambient, dark wave, industrial, and all those great sounds that she brings to you each and every week. And again, a quick reminder, if you want to check us out, you can do that online, www.facebook.com, or enjoy the podcast at your convenience, again, through iTunes. You can subscribe through iTunes or Spotify. And I know me and the boys were talking about Spotify, a love-hate relationship in this group, but yes, they do carry our program and you can enjoy it at your convenience. All right, continuing on now, back to Power Metal. Mike, you've got another pick for us for 2019, a show that we both enjoyed.
Yeah, one of my absolute favorite bands, Hammerfall.
Hammerfall, new album number 10, no, 11. Sorry,
Album number 11.
Good save.
So it's 22 years strong for these guys. Very consistent. Let's say it's 11 albums, 22 years, but there's various live albums and cover albums in there.
Greatest hits, yeah.
Compilations, you name it. So they've been very busy. Good for them. Nothing really new here for Hammerfall. It's typical Hammerfall, but it is one of the better albums in the last few years. I know a lot of people give crap to like Chapter 5 and not Dominion, but
Infected?
Threshold.
yes, Infected and Threshold and stuff.
yeah.
You know, they give crap to that, but if you mind to look through it, there are some classic gems on every album they've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they've been a very consistent band. No, this is not going to sound like their first 4 albums, but they're just instant power metal classics. You're just not going to repeat it in this life.
They've had a lot of guys come and go out of the band over the years, so there's...
But to me, this is
Sound's gonna change.
it's very consistent. It's crazy. It's good. I love this album. Very well produced. Great cover art. That's typical for these guys. So
I read a review. A guy said, "Oh, it looks like the cover art's terrible. It looks like World of Warcraft." I'm thinking to myself, that's because they hired the guy from World of Warcraft on purpose to do the album art because they thought it was cool. You missed the whole point.
yeah, and Samwise have done an awful lot of their albums.
Yeah, exactly.
So but
It's like eating a chocolate bar and saying, "Oh, I don't like chocolate."
exactly. So I'm digging a little deep in the album titles.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go down and we're going to listen to "Scars of a Generation."
Scars of a Generation. That sounds like a good name song for our group, right? All right. Hammerfall on Megawatt Mayhem.
Hammerfall with Scars of a Generation.
Scars of a Generation. Power Metal Mike's pick for this round. Awesome. And Hammerfall is returning to Calgary, playing at Dickens Pub with Battle Beast, or is it Beast in Black?
Beast in Black.
Beast in Black, excuse me. And one other opening band. I can't, I'm drawing a blank now. That's coming in September.
Edge of Paradise.
Edge of Paradise. That's the 20th September?
Yes, September.
I will be promoting that show as it comes closer to the date. And now we're going to hear from the Necronauts. Take us down the hole.
Deeper into the darkness again. So let's check out a band from Australia called Midnight Odyssey. So I recently discovered these guys as well. Had to dig deep and find some new music this past year. So they released an album, and the one is called In Tartarian Change, Biolum Part 1. And we're going to check out a track called A Storm Before a Fiery Dawn.
Right here on Megawatt Mayhem.
Alright, some ambient black metal from Midnight Odyssey. Very 90s influenced.
Definitely. I like it a lot. So maybe they'll be touring with Airborne.
I don't think so.
And they're doing... what was the name of the song again?
Storm Before a Fiery Dawn. Keep in mind this is a one-man band, so I don't think he's ever played live.
Ah, interesting. And there's more and more of that evolution where people have the gear at home, where they are becoming a completely studio project, or even a one-man or one-woman band. It's a pretty interesting evolution.
So if you're one guy, why don't you just go by your own name?
Because he's got many different projects. He has the Crevices Below, and Midnight Odyssey, and yeah,
so one
the
project
list goes
style
on and on and
almost.
on. But Midnight Odyssey is his main project. Yeah.
Interesting. I like it. All right, you are listening to Megawatt Mayhem on CJSW, and we're going to talk to the panel now about literature, metal books, or comics, or graphic novels, or whatever. And we'll start with the Necronaut. What did you do any metal reading this year?
I started. Paradise Lost released a book just in November, so I only got the book in mid-December. I started reading it. I'm very interested in continuing with it. It's just going over the history of the band and such, so I think it's going to be a really good read. I did also see that Moonspell was thanking you for their book.
Oh yeah, I got the new Moonspell book, which is called When Wolves Were Men. I think was the title, When Wolves Were Men.
Yeah.
And I really liked it. I gave it a good review, and they thanked me online, which I thought was very kind of them. But
really be interested in checking that out as well.
You can borrow my copy.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah. Otherwise, any idea where to get it?
Probably order online, like most things these days.
Of course, typical.
Yeah, and as for anyone else, Mike, any good rock biogs?
Yeah, I bought Martin Popoff's 2 books about power metal.
Right.
The European one and the USA one.
Oh, his collection of old interviews from the vaults of all these old guys like Jag Panzer and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm not impressed with the US one.
Or
his power metal preferences either. I'm not touching it. You're friends with him.
You're going to have a word with him later.
Yeah, you're friends with him. I'm not touching it.
All right, fair enough. Ev, how about you? Any good reading this year?
Still need to read all my album booklets.
Yeah, I know. That's a lot of words.
Falling behind on that.
And Bri?
Speaking of metal Tim, I've got one of his Iron Maiden ones, and I read his Rush one that I think they both came out last year.
Mm-hmm.
KK Downing's book, was that 2019?
Yep, that was 2019,
I quite enjoyed that one. Didn't get along with Glenn Tipton.
That was a bit of an eye-opener for me.
Well, not a surprise, I don't think there. I mean, who's not going to get along? 2 guitarists, likely, right? So there you go there.
There was that scene in the book, sorry to interrupt, where he's just flown back on a private jet from the Bahamas, and he bought a Porsche or something, and he's cash, and he's like looking in the mirror. He's got his frosted hair and his aviator shades on. He's kind of stops and shakes his head for a minute. It's like, how did I get here? this working class kid from England is now like looking like LA rock star number 27. Or
Well, this would be about 1986, I'd say.
yeah, I'd say so, when they were multi-platinum selling artists.
Yeah. Well, I think he was doing it in a bit of a self-congratulatory way as well, you know. It was a good book. I was surprised that he was the one that wanted to go in the heavier direction. I would have sworn that would have been Tipton, just based on Tipton's solo album and stuff like that. He also stood by Ripper and stuff like that. Quite frankly, he guested with Ripper on YouTube a couple months ago. They were doing some songs and stuff like that. No surprise based on the book that he's not welcome to the 50th anniversary tour.
Yep.
For right or wrong as of right now. So having said that, I've also got on pre-order Rob Halford's Confessions book, which will be out in October. So we'll see if there's any rebuttals there or different versions of or memories.
Right.
And book I also enjoyed, which is maybe slightly tangentially metal, was Elton John's biography, and I enjoyed it. Like I said, I like a lot of different types of music. His story was very interesting. I really enjoyed it.
Fascinating.
And of course, he's collaborating with Ozzy.
Yeah, bizarre, eh?
I'll listen to it. I want to hear what that sounds like.
Me too.
You know, I guess Ozzy needs some piano.
Maybe he does, yeah. For me, the Dave Ellefson, Megadeth, his second book, was another one that we touched on. King's X was another great book. Any anticipations for things coming up in 2019 for books? I can't really think of any big ones on the horizon right now.
I don't know, just stealing your Moonspell book, I guess.
Fair enough. Welcome to it.
Halford's was the only one that I know of right now that's in progress.
And Phil Anselmo supposedly is going to have his book out, but they've been talking about that every year for years now. I'll believe it when it's published and it's printed on paper. So, all right, we're going to continue on here on Megawatt Mayhem and go for another round. Now this time, where did that silly CD of mine go? Here it is. So we're going to hear a project. This is kind of my bizarre pick of the year, and longtime listeners will know that every year when we've done this, I've picked that one or two just bizarre songs. So we're going to hear from Raskasta Iskelma, which is a side project of the European heavy metal Christmas group that each year does metal versions of Christmas songs. So now they have like a summer project, give them something to do in the summer, right? And the way the recording cycle works, probably they're recording the Christmas one in the summer, and then they're recording the summer one at Christmas, something like that. So what does Raskasta Iskelma mean? Well, it means heavy Schlager. Schlager being a type of European pop music. So it's like folk, pop, disco. So these guys took a bunch of cover tunes from 60s bands and metalized them, finished pop songs. And we're going to hear one called Riku on Riskila Ruma. And I went and watched the original video on YouTube, and it doesn't translate very well into English. So I contacted a Finnish buddy of mine. He says it doesn't really make sense to him either, but the best translation he could come up with was that fat chicks should not wear tight workout clothing. All right. So, and then I'm like, okay, so is that like spandex is a privilege, not a right? This same sort of saying in North America. So anyway, I caught my eye, and the video is just bizarre. It was a different time in the 60s. So we're going to hear that right now, and we're going to go with it. So from Raskasta Iskelma, this is Riku on Riskila Ruma on Megawatt Mayhem. And that is Raskasta Iskelma with their side project Heavy Schlager. And that I forgot to mention at the top of that set, featuring members of Stratovarius, Sonata Arctica, Nightwish, Tarot, Sharon, and a whole bunch of other bands. So these guys just to get together, and I can see them in my mind's eye in the studio. They're just sitting around drinking, saying, "Remember that old song from when we were kids? Some obscure Finnish pop songs." And they're like, "Hey, we've got a recording studio right here." And maybe that's not always the best decision. Access to alcohol and recording studios. And that's my bizarre pick of the year. And staying in that comedy vein, Baron, we're back to you, and you've got something that's also in that kind of vein. Well,
to a degree. I mean, it's not proper unless I bring some Steel Panther.
Yeah.
They've had 5 albums. This is my 5th favorite.
Okay, well.
I expected a bit more. They sort of led us up to believe it was going to be like the ultimate.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody says, this is our greatest ever album, it usually isn't.
Agreed, yeah.
You know, it's usually a warning sign right then and there.
This is better than 10 Super Bowls. Okay.
so I guess I was a bit disappointed in that it just lyrics. Let's just do the F-bomb as much as possible. We can't.
I'm with Brian on that. That's the one thing that really bugged me about this album. Like, not the guys, and the musicianship of the album is unreal. These guys are top notch at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it's like whenever Michael Starr couldn't find the lyric, he just said "fuck." I'm like, come on, man! Like,
try a little harder because those first few albums were so clever.
they were so clever and good, and this is like, I mean, I say the F word a lot, but this is wow. Like, really?
I couldn't believe this was the same band that gave us such wonderful tunes as Glory Hole and Eyes of a Panther and stuff like this. So anyway, there were some reasonable songs on the album, and so we're going to play actually the most serious song that they've probably ever done.
Yeah.
I Ain't Buying What You're Selling, because I wasn't buying what they were selling for the other 9 tracks.
And it was an interesting way to end the album with an acoustic ballad, and I thought the lyrics were kind of introspective as well, like world weary. I think I would call it.
Yeah. It was just a different song for them, quite frankly.
And maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah. So I think let's play it and let's hear it.
All right, Steel Panther on Megawatt Mayhem. And we are back. I ain't buying what you're selling. Courtesy of Steel Panther and the band.
I expected more, really. But
so was this a disappointment of the year?
It was a disappointment of the year. It wasn't the disappointment of the year.
All right, yeah. They all can't be winners, and that's what we're about. We all just want to play the best of the best of the best all the time, because could be someone else's favorite.
I mean, White Snake was like, meh, whatever, and stuff like that. But we'll save the worst for last.
Worst for last. All right. All right. Some more of the best. Evan.
Yes, from Sweden, Twilight Force.
Yeah. New singer.
3rd album. Yes, new singer. Alessandro Conti from Luca Turilli's Rhapsody. And it really makes sense because their music style is really early era Rhapsody. As close as anyone else has come, I think. And that's really the charm of it. And so I liked Christian as well, and it was kind of sad when he left. But
we have a comment from the Peanut Gallery.
From what I've heard, Alessandro's doing good as well. So I can't complain.
And maybe sorry to interject you, Evan. You dive in after Evan.
Yeah,
and
my
say
top pick of the year is involving Christian. It's a band called Northtail.
All right.
Now there's a spoiler alert there. You have to say spoiler alert before you go down that path. Yeah,
that's fine.
Plug your ears, people. Go back in time.
I got no problem with telling people what it is.
Anyway, sorry I derailed you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I lost my train of thought when you derailed me there, as usually happens. Yeah, big orchestral. It's great. Why don't we hear from it?
All right, so let's do it. So, and the name of the new
title track, Dawn of the Dragon Star.
Dawn of the Dragon Star. New Twilight Force from 2019 on Megawatt Mayhem.
Dawn of the Dragon Star by Twilight Force. One of my top picks of the year. Maybe not quite as good as their last album in 2016, 2015, but I think I was disappointed as well when I heard the singer left, but I think the listeners can decide, let their ears decide, because I thought that was admirable vocals there. I think he holds his own.
By Justin Hawkins.
Still one of my favorite bands.
Yeah, that's like you said, it's not as good as the last album. That's why, because Christian isn't there. They got Justin Hawkins from the darkness going, woo, the whole time.
You got to get up in the dog whistle territory. I loved it myself. I actually paid good cash money to buy a hard copy of that one.
I bought a copy too because I do like Twilight Force, but
a lot of fun.
It kind of got pushed aside the minute I got my hands on Northtail. I'm like, ooh, what's this? This is better. And it stayed that way.
And it takes us to that point. It's around your pick now.
It's my pick now, and I am picking probably it's another Swedish band. There's a shock, really, for me. Not that I don't like Sweden, I do, but
You shop at IKEA a lot, don't you?
I have, yes. It's probably, to me, Sweden's most underrated band. They are such a strong band. They've been around for quite a while now. This is their 8th album. I think the only thing that's stopping the guys to become really mainstream is they've had a slew of member changes.
Yeah, that's true.
Almost every album. It's tough being a low-budget Sweden metal band with not much record company money behind it, I guess.
Yeah.
People expect great money, and they're playing little tiny nightclubs.
True that.
But, that being said,
The name of the new album is
Starborn Traveler.
Yeah.
And the band is Crystal Eyes. A great continuation from an album that was released 4 years ago, or 8 actually. No,
Killer.
2014.
5 years ago.
5 years ago.
5
So
years
yeah,
ago.
5 years ago, called Killer. And the album was Killer. They've never released a bad album, period, but Killer just had something special, and it's traveled over to this album. Mike Dahl has managed to keep pretty good songwriting skills for some reason. He's on a good pace, and I hope this brings Crystal Eyes finally to somewhere, or even get an opening slot with a good band, something, or
on a bigger tour. Yeah.
that would be great. So the song I picked to hear is Extreme Paranoia.
That's a good pick. That caught my ear. I really liked Paradise Power Lord on that one, and Metal Midnight Radio was another catchy
Midnight
one.
Radio was too
Kinda goofy,
80
yeah,
Dokken-ish for me.
Yeah, that's true.
And not that that's an issue, because I like Dokken, but it works.
It was like a black sheep on a record. But so we're going to hear Extreme Paranoia.
Extreme Paranoia.
All right, so brand new Crystal Eyes from the new album Starborn Traveler right here on Megawatt.
Wild or something, but there's a lot of Running Wild, like very similarities, and it's not a bad thing. Running Wild are awesome.
Yeah, and they might have a new album in 2020. They put out that little EP right at the very end of the year, that
Very end of the year.
4-song EP.
I did get it.
Oh,
It's good.
Yeah, I heard it, enjoyed it too.
Digitally, I can't find it, of course, with our lovely record stores around here.
Yeah, that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, we won't start that. We won't start that one.
For all of us who buy physical products still. And now the Necronauts. What have you got
Yes.
on the heavy end of the spectrum for us?
Gonna check out one of my favorite black metal bands. They're called Bethlehem. As we know, they've been around since the early 90s. And, well, they've had a return to form back in 2016 when they introduced their vocalist Oni Lar from Darken Nocturne Slaughter Cult. So it was just refreshing to, hear them go back to their roots. So this album, Lebedish Lear, is very much like their 2016 album, Bethlehem. And we're going to hear a track called Demonisch im ersten Blitz.
Do you want to help us out with some translations?
Maybe later.
All right, Google to the rescue, or maybe we're just going to make sure it's appropriate for on there. So this is Bethlehem, the Necronauts pick, one of his picks for 2019 here on Megawatt Mayhem.
And that was Bethlehem from their latest album, Lebedish Lear.
And the translate was something about demons.
Demonic from the first flash or something like that, yeah.
Oh, maybe like from the 9 levels of hell or something like that.
Their lyrics have never made sense, and they don't make sense even more so in English.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, translation is such a funny game. All right, we're well past the halfway point of the show here on Megawatt Mayhem on CJSW 90.9 FM, and I want to say next week I'm going to be doing kind of a look back at the last decade and just doing some, new bands, the best new bands of the decade, something like that, just for fun. Haven't quite refined a theme yet, but it'll be good. And then coming up in February, we'll be doing our top 100 of 2019. So really going for overkill on the year in review as we wrap up the decade. But too much is never enough, so we're back to the start of our circle of friends here. And the Baron, what have you got? Oh, actually, we were going to talk about the live concert experience in 2019. Let's do that first. So did anyone have any great, memorable, lifetime-changing shows or anticipations? Or
King Diamond was quite cool in Vancouver there.
Ah,
Yeah, really good stage set and show. like a horror themed atmosphere going on the whole time, and then
Nice.
excellent musicianship.
Thanks for rubbing it in.
Yeah, for those
My
of us
pleasure.
who get to go. And Baron, what any shows?
I
this
went
year?
to 2 shows. I went to Steel Panther, which was outstanding, which is ironic considering I was so disappointed in the album. And Iron Maiden, yeah, they were there too.
Right on. Iron.
Nice one in the Saddle Dome.
Yeah, with the massive stage set with the Spitfire and the flamethrower and
Yeah. There was a lot of that, and the big Spitfire airplane that was hanging over them and stuff. Of course, they changed their look as the music went on and stuff like that. But it was I thought it was a very excellent show. They're still doing a good job. Bruce can still let it out, and whenever they release this mystery album in 2020, I'm sure it'll sound good. Vocally at least. Hopefully there's some punchy, catchy songs and not some 12-minute dirges like they've been doing lately.
dirigible dirges.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, actually, that was one of their better songs off their last album, but about that dirigible. But one of the bands that I'm hoping for that'll release a good album, they put on a good concert.
Right on. Ev, you saw a lot of shows. You were
Yeah.
I was at them with you.
One of the most impressive shows I saw was 77-year-old B.J. Thomas on stage for 2 hours straight without a break,
Nice.
and he still has pipes. 77.
I don't know who that is.
B.J. Thomas. He did "Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head," probably the most famous one.
Was he
"Rock
touring
and
with
Roll
Tiny Tim?
Lullaby."
Yeah. Sorry. Mike and I
Even I'm surprised to hear that in this show.
Yeah,
That's awesome though.
a
Yeah.
lot of #1 hits in the 70s.
Yeah.
Probably
And you still got
best,
it.
best metal show probably Sabaton.
Huh?
We'll see if Joachim can pull it off when he's 77.
I doubt it.
I don't know.
And the tank, right? The freaking
That
tank.
tank was
The tank on
and the
stage.
headlights would like flicker and stuff.
Oh yeah, I was expecting fireworks to shoot out of the cannon. I really did. I was like a little disappointed. I was like, oh come on, you got a freaking tank on stage. You got to shoot something, right? Oh well.
Looking forward to
Yeah.
Beast in Black with Hammerfall next year.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, highlights for me were definitely the Hammerfall and Sabaton. The Battle Beast with Camelot, killer show, good as always. Sonata was very disappointing in that, but the ultimate highlight was the Iron Maiden. Killer show. Good thing for me because I actually took my kid to it, and he still hasn't shut up about it. Still wears that Iron Maiden shirt forever.
right on.
So I did a lasting impression on him. I'm glad he enjoyed
You
it.
converted one to the dark side?
He's definitely to the dark side.
All
There's
right.
no ifs, ands, or buts. Everything is made into him. So it's good.
I have to also mention Judas Priest in Lethbridge. That
Oh, you
was a
made the
great
trek?
show. I did,
Yeah.
absolutely. And one thing I must stress is that it was cool because they varied their set list, and this is a thing that bands don't do enough. I stress this. It's so frustrating when you see a band and then you see them again and it's the same bloody show with maybe one song changed or 2 songs changed. And, so they did some great tracks like Out in the Cold,
Yeah, pulled out some rarities. That's very
Exactly.
cool. Speaking of Maiden, I didn't see the Maiden show. I drew the line in the sand. I said I'm not paying $100 to see him again. But I did go see Bruce Dickinson do a spoken word thing in Toronto, which was really neat. He told some of his life story and some jokes, and he did a almost 3-hour monologue. It was great at a theater in Toronto, so it was a lot of fun. Michael Schenker group, a lot of fun for the Guitar Hero type stuff, and all the power metal shows. We were all there. Those were a lot of fun. Cradle of Filth, a little disappointing, but it was the very end of their long 2-year world tour, and they were exhausted and showed up late because of the snow. And so they didn't maybe do 1,000%, but it was still good to see those guys. And a great, I saw 38, 40 shows, so it was a good year for concerts for me.
Hey, when's Annihilator going to get around to doing their makeup performance for Calgary?
Yeah, we're 5 years waiting now?
Yeah.
And he's moved to another country, so hope is growing dim for the replacement Annihilator
He's in the UK
concert.
right now, isn't he?
Yeah. That's a
Maybe
shame.
you should just call it a cancellation and not say there'll be a makeup performance.
Yeah, I want my money back. All right, so we're going to get into another round. So, live albums and things like that. I guess we could talk about live albums soon, but that's a nice segue into your next pick, Baron.
Yeah, which sort of related to Sea and Iron Maiden as well, quite frankly. They had Blaze Bayley as a singer in the mid-90s. Blaze's solo stuff has been better than Maiden's 21st Century stuff.
Completely agreed, 100% on that.
Yeah, those are brave words, but you have some agreement here.
Well, truth is the truth.
Yeah.
Now, not everybody likes his vocal style or his vocal phrasing or just his vocals, period, but he is who he is, okay? So he's just completed the third of a trilogy of albums called Infinite Entanglement. He's been doing some live touring of that. He's been throwing in some of his past with it as well. So we're going to hear one of the songs called from that. What was it called? A thousand years. I was trying to. It was 1,000 years or 1,000 days. 1,000 years is the name of the song from live in France.
Now, I'm going to interject for a second. I've noticed that, and you probably know this too, he has these almost two parallel series of live albums. He has released these digital live albums, like 30 of them, where they're just like churning out live in Czechoslovakia, live in Spain, live in Sweden. And then there's this more, what I consider more legitimate, where he actually releases a physical product, like you have. You actually bought the double live Blaze CD.
That's right. Yeah, Mike and I doubled up on this one. Yes.
Yeah. And so, what do you think, Mike? Are these sort of spontaneous digital live albums worth anything, or is it better to get kind of like the true sonic representation?
I want the true sonic. I want the album. I don't want. I mean, digitals. If you want it bad enough, of course you're going to buy it. But
it's like Metallica puts out every concert. You can get it now. If you're in a fan club, you instantly get the memory stick when you walk out the door or whatever, or the download code, and you can have.
Not
I have
for me.
800 live Metallica concerts. It's like, what's the point?
That's actually a live album that I didn't get. Was S&M 2. I'm not sure if that was any good or not.
Was that in 2019?
I wouldn't know. It's Metallica. I don't pay attention anymore.
But anyway, this Blaze one was good. It was a good representation of where he is now. He's got a sequel, live in Paris or live in France, coming out early this year. But anyway, quite enjoyed this one. 1,000 Years. A good song off of the Infinite Entanglement project, and Blaze is still rattling them off.
All right, so here we go. New double live, Blaze Bayley, one of Baron's live albums of the year on Megawatt Mayhem. Blaze Bayley live from France.
Now, the only thing I'd have to say about this one is maybe saying merci beaucoup a bit too much, thanking the fans, but being graceful to the fans is not a crime. If you're going to err on doing it too much and instead of not enough.
Good call, definitely good call. Right on. So continuing on, picks of 2019 here on Megawatt Mayhem. Evan, what have you got for us?
Yes, we're going to hear from Beast in Black.
Oh yeah,
their new one, From Hell with Love. You talked about it at the end of last year's episode, I think, is looking forward into 2018. Their singer, of course, Yannis Papadopoulos, has a great voice. He can be either like sweet or savage, depending on what he wants. And I think the band, they kind of ride that line of having songs that are like catchy, but they can also have a good amount of raw power behind them. And I think that's a very delicate balance.
Agreed.
I think they pulled it off. So let's hear from it. The title track, Cry Out for a Hero.
Right here on Megawatt Mayhem. What a great voice. That is
Yannis Papadopoulos and Beast in Black.
Beast in Black. And we were going to briefly touch base on the Battle Beast versus Beast in Black controversy. I don't even know if that's the right word. But they both put out records.
Yeah.
So who won the war? Beast in Black or Battle Beast for best of 2019?
Neither for me.
I hate having to choose. I'd say Beast in Black did a better one, and that seems to be more well received amongst metalheads. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it has a heavier edge than the Battle Beast. I agree with that.
Yeah,
Battle Beast-
is pretty poppy.
They had some songs which went into like power ballad territory on the Battle Beast album, which you have to take yourself away. And I think if this was another band, would I have liked this song? And I thought, yeah, I guess I would, even though the fans absolutely kind of hated it.
But then you get
a
a song like Ocean Deep from this album that is complete puss material.
Soft.
Very soft. Not that Battle Beast isn't guilty of, because they are. That album was not very good either. But to me, this went into too much of an 80s keyboard poppy phase. You know, you get
probably why I liked it.
From Hell with Love, Sweet True Lies, Die by the Blade. Like, wow.
That was so good. That video for Sweet True Lies. And it had like the Corvette burning out at the end. With the,
you know, compared to...
That's 80s.
Yeah.
Compared to the first album, which to me was an instant power metal classic, it was my number one when it came out. It's so heavy, a little keyboardy, but that's life. And Battle Beast, well, that first half of the first album was very radio friendly.
Mm-hmm.
But we want bands to evolve and change and
well, they're not really evolving, they change, and they're going back to another decade.
Yeah, I suppose. Revolving?
They're
devolving?
I don't know.
Unevolving?
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but
in Europe,
it's been there and done that. Like, Battle Beast, the last half of the album was really good to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with Great Horde, Raise Your Fist, you know, like, there was some more classic Battle Beast that we were looking for, but to me, both bands are a win. You get a band that doesn't like one another, they branch out and make two good bands, so that's...
Everyone wins, yeah.
Yeah, to me, it's fine. Everyone wins. Like, I'm not down on no one's music there. It's just is what it is.
It is what it is. And speaking of what it is, tell us, okay, what caught your ear more than the Beast and Black and Battle Beast? What's your next pick?
Return of a Danish power metal band called Iron Fire.
Yeah.
Very, very underrated band. Hasn't done nothing bad ever.
Pretty consistent.
Very
across the
consistent.
board, yeah.
They are now a trio from the last two albums. Once again, being a small band from Denmark, a lot of lineup changes, but it stayed constant. They were consistent with Martin Steen, whose voice went a little dark on the last album, but this album he's back to his old style. I wasn't sure if it was there. I don't know if it was age or something why he toned back a bit, but there's some really good moments on this album where you hear the old Iron Head or the old, you know, from Martin Steen. So I really enjoyed it. It was really good. The album's called Into the Void, and this song we're going to hear is The Devil's Path.
The Devil's Path. New Iron Fire. Well, I keep saying new, but it's not that.
Well, that's their latest. So
it's their latest. Look, the latest Iron Fire here on Megawatt Mayhem.
And that's Iron Fire with The Devil's Path.
The Devil's Path. And speaking of the devil,
I guess it's my turn again.
yeah. No offense.
Oh, actually, it's rather fitting.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's delve deeper into a band called Luster from Sweden. So they've been around since 2008, I believe, and they recently released an album called Another Time, Another Place. It's actually a collection of songs that were done years ago, but it was released in 2019, so therefore I'm going to play it.
Yeah, that counts.
Yeah, so there's a song called The Ardour of Autumn Part 2. We're going to check that one out.
And it's another dark epic.
It's an atmospheric kind of black metal, not really black metal, just atmospheric. Yeah,
Darkness,
you'll see.
Extremity.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. And so, Luster from 2019, going back to the past, here on Megawatt Mayhem.
Oh, so music to drive in the mountains to. That was Luster from Sweden, another one-man band.
Instrumental.
Pretty much. There are screams in there, but they're kind of subtle and blended in with the music.
Yeah, sounds good. Dark, ambient, the whole spectrum.
Yeah, they do come from like a black metal background, but as you can see, it's more just like an atmospheric style now.
Yeah.
So that's sort of gray metal then.
Yeah.
Sure. If you want to paint it with that brush, I'll let you.
All right, and speaking of tarring things with brushes and feathers, we're going to jump now on Megawatt Mayhem to our disappointments of 2019. We'll start with a Necronaut. What pissed you off in 2019?
I don't really feel there was anything that pissed me off, but you know, when we're talking about disappointments, I'm just gonna say the new Evergrey, the Atlantic. I just found it was really boring, and there was some song, there was still quality musicianship in there, but nothing.
And you're a huge fan too.
I'm a huge fan, and I've bought everything, all their albums, but I haven't bought this one.
Oh,
I just.
telling.
I don't know. Nothing stuck for me, you know. I had it on my playlist for a bit, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, whatever. And it just fell off the map for me.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good time to look back and say, what stood the test of time? Those albums that came out, and that was in January, wasn't it? January, February.
I think it was January.
Yes, so 12 months later, it's not in the playlist
and I think
much anymore.
we went on about that last year's show.
Yeah.
But what are you excited for? And I said Evergrey.
Yeah.
And so it's just weird the way things turn out.
Yeah, strange. Mike, Power Metal Mike.
Yeah, I'm going to second Necronaut on that. That was one of my things to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
He's absolutely right. I don't know if because we were looking forward to it so much. Nothing stuck. Not my playlist either no more. So there was that. I did not like the Steel Panther, as we mentioned earlier. Nor did I like the Battle Beast or the Beast in Black.
Right.
And I was very looking forward to the Beast in Black because the first album was a instant power metal classic, and it fell short real bad.
All right. Evan.
I guess the only thing I could say Sonata Arctica, but I wasn't really expecting much from it. So
I'll agree with you on that.
Can't be disappointed
much
if you're not expecting much.
I listened to a bit of it, and I
was.
was just like, there's another one I'll be skipping. So.
And I noticed the Blind Guardian shirt you're wearing, of course. So what about the Blind Guardian rock opera? Did you even get a chance to hear it?
I didn't even know it was released.
Yeah. So
I thought it was a
under the
January
radar.
release. So.
Okay. And anyone else hear it?
Yeah, I heard it. I gave it a few listens.
It was pretty disappointing for me too.
Hansi is a great singer. The melodies of his voice over the orchestra was great.
But not a single.
I'm not a single
guitar.
instrument. No guitars, no drums. No, I just missed all that. It's hard.
It fell flat. Yeah.
I know it's a project they've been working on forever and ever and ever to get it out.
Mm-hmm.
He really wanted it out. Then some critics absolutely love the thing, gave it perfect 10s and everything. So It's great for them, but it's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, me neither. And that brings us around to the Baron.
We haven't done any Canadian content, which is ironic. So one of my disappointments was actually Old School by Helix, which maybe shouldn't have been a surprise or a disappointment because this was basically stuff they scraped off the shoe or wherever they found it in a box or something. It was like third generation retread, B-side, maybe demos. Probably shouldn't have even been released. Like it was like, nice try, guys, but no, there wasn't anything to salvage there. There was nothing there. So not really a disappointment because of the nature of what it was in the first place.
Right.
So, okay. My disappointment, though, originated with the Dirt Project by Motley Crue. None of the 4 songs were any good. The title track wasn't really that good. Crash and Burn wasn't that good. Ride with the Devil wasn't that good. But the biggest disappointment was the one that probably should have been awesome. Like a Virgin. That should have been amazingly awesome.
Yeah, it should have been.
But I don't think they put any effort or joy or joie de vivre into any of their 4 songs. And Like a Virgin should have been good.
You're just shaking your head.
It should have been awesome.
Watch this video and you're going to see the Baron just shaking his head in disgust and shame.
I thought, wow, when I heard that they were going to do that as a cover, I thought, yeah, you guys are going to make this awesome. It was shit. So let's hear it.
let's just lay it on the line. All right, so let's hear it. This is Motley Crue, Like a Virgin.
I so wanted this to be good. I was so hopeful.
So that's the first time I heard that. Who else was the first time?
Yeah.
Me too.
Oh man, even the engineer in the back is shaking his head. It's like, oh,
I mean, I'm not a Madonna fan, but the original was catchy.
It's a poppy
It was
catchy song,
catchy. So I was hoping this would take a semblance of that and just put a little bit of a twist that, a pervy twist that Motley Crue could do. But they didn't put any effort into that at all. It was horrible.
But we don't have to listen to it again then.
No, we don't. No. I promise you, I will not hear it again.
That's the kind of the show we are, as we play bad music on purpose. Is that so good it's bad category?
Yeah, sure, yeah, definitely, yeah.
No, that was so bad it was bad.
So bad it was bad. Fair enough.
And I apologize to everyone. I hate that. And that's why it was a disappointment.
Yeah.
It should have been good, but it was a giant turd.
Yes.
Yeah. And on that happy note, we're going to go over to Evan with it was so good it is good.
Well,
or one
I
last
think
comment for you.
The one listener who stayed tuned through that is going to be thrilled to hear our number one picks now.
Yeah, absolutely.
You, congratulations.
That's right.
Yes. So yeah, number one. So in this great year, what stood out as number one? And I did the very simple thing of what spent the most time in the CD player.
Yeah.
And that would be the mighty Glory Hammer.
Right on.
From their new album, Legends from Beyond the Galactic Terror Vortex. Say that 3 times fast. Yeah, and so they're continuing the story of the various incarnations of Agnes McFife and Zargo Thrax fighting in different galaxies and time periods, and
what I love about this record too, if you look at the liner notes, is that it says this is part 3 of a 21-part album concept series or something like that. It's like, oh my god.
And if you watch the video too of the song we're going to hear, there's awesome things like space submarines going through, which I don't think any other metal bands have yet captured space submarines.
Yeah.
Are they yellow?
So of course, this is the band of Christopher of
Hailstorm.
Hailstorm, yes.
You just gave me a great idea for Megawatt theme. Do all songs about submarines. I'm sure there's got to be.
There's got to be a heavy
There's a
version
heavy
of Yellow Submarine.
somewhere out there. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
So I think this is one of the times I haven't chosen the title track for us to hear, but we will hear from a phrase they use often, and this is Hoots Force.
And that is Glory Hammer.
Hoots Force.
Hoots Force. So we were discussing what is a Hoots Force. They talk about this all the time on the records. Does anyone know?
No, must be some Scottish slang for something.
Yeah. So I looked up. Okay, so we have hoot, like an owl hooting. I don't think
Yeah,
that's
but
it.
then there's also the word hoot for a nice puff of something.
That's right. So that could be it, knowing those guys. And then, didn't you meet them in the States?
No.
Oh, I thought you saw them down there or something. Or maybe I'm confused.
I was planning on it, but
And urban
maybe that could be a disappointment of
So they're
Weird.
Scottish? Is that what you're saying?
hoot. Someone who's a hoot, as in funny, from Urban Dictionary.
yeah, they're from Scotland.
So it's probably what you do after you eat a lot of haggis.
Glory Hammer, Evan's number one. Great record.
Yeah.
I bought that one a hard copy too. All right, Power Metal Mike,
For me, a new band.
new band.
Very new
Nice.
discovery for me. Even though this is their third album, this is a progressive power metal band out of Brazil. I know that's a bit of a shock, but it's a band called Age of Artemis. Now, the only reason why I actually decided to even check out this band was from the Metal Archives.
Mhm.
The singer, Pedro Campos, is from a Brazilian band I like named Hangar. Now, Hangar has a very famous Brazilian drummer, Achilles Priester,
Right.
who's been in frickin' everything.
Angra.
He's helped Angra. He's been in. He's playing for Wasp right now, currently as a drummer, live. He's been in Primal Fear to help them out. Like, this guy has a very big resume, and he's a drummer extraordinaire. So, just back searching people. I really like this guy's voice. He has an edge to it, but he can be very, very lovely, actually, if he wants to. So checked it out. I'm like, who are these Age of Artemis? Did some YouTubing, loved it instantly. The only snag I ran into was they're independent, self-release. But that being said, got a hold of the band, $20 Canadian, all the way from Brazil, and a handwritten thank you note from the band. Signed the
Nice.
note saying thank
Cool.
you for supporting Canada. They actually had to look up Calgary, see where it was, what it was about. So that part, it's kind of neat that they actually took the time to do that. And the album is called Monomath, and the song we're going to hear is The Calling.
Brand new Discovery, Mike's #1 pick of 2019 on Megawatt Mayhem.
And that's The Calling from Age of Artemis.
That's a new one to me, so I'm going to have to take your recommendation and go explore those guys as well.
Really good. I don't know about any of the first two albums. This is the only one I know, because the only one I have, or I can even find, so...
We'll have to find out.
But it's good.
Excellent. And that takes us down. We're winding down near the end of the show. I want to remind you that coming up, Catherine and Nightmare Delirium in about 10 minutes or so. But to take us to that point, we have one or two more songs. And Necronaut, I guess you get one of the final words from our esteemed panel of guests tonight.
Oh, well, thank you. So I guess we'll do something a little bit different, but still dark nonetheless. New Aussie.
The Prince of Darkness. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Prince of Darkness. So, I really like this new song, Under the Graveyard. It's got a lot of darkness to it. It's about the period in Ozzy's life when he had just been fired from Sabbath, and he was going through a very dark time, doing a lot of drugs, heavy drinking, and, he almost killed himself over this.
And his
so,
wife, too, during that time, wasn't
well, she came to save him, basically. She's the one that brought him out of this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really like the new tune. It's really got a Sabbathy vibe throughout parts of it, and so let's check it out. Under the Graveyard.
Yeah, now would this be one of your anticipations, maybe? Of,
Absolutely,
2020?
definitely one of my anticipations for 2020.
All right, so when we get back, we're going to talk to the panel about our anticipations. But let's hear it. Brand new Ozzy Osbourne, Under the Graveyard, right here on Megawatt Mayhem. And that is Ozzy Osbourne, brand new.
Under the Graveyard.
Under the Graveyard. And that's just about going to take us to the end of this episode of Megawatt Mayhem. I want to thank everyone for listening. Again, stay tuned for Catherine Nightmare Delirium. Next week, we'll be back live here on CJSW 90.9 FM in Calgary when I'm doing my decade in review show. And we have a few minutes left. We're just going to, I was going to pack one more song in, but I think we'll just wrap it up. I want to touch really quickly, I'm throwing you guys a curveball here, DVDs, movies. Let's quickly run through, were there any great rock, metal movies and DVDs and films in 2019? Baron?
Well, as a big Queen fan, Bohemian Rhapsody was certainly something of interest. I also liked Rocket Man with the Elton John thing. We saw that Rush.
Yep. La Villa Strangiato?
Yeah, which was maybe a compilation of outtakes. I don't know what that was, but it was entertaining, whatever it was. But the first two movies I mentioned, Bohemian Rhapsody and Rocket Man, sort of took a bit of a side detour on reality.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if this is something that's maybe a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. It's frustrating because I know Queen's history off by heart, and I'm like, guys, you've authorized this project, and yet
you're making
not
mistakes in your own history. Yeah.
Deliberately.
Yeah.
So it's weird. Is this the future of biopics? I don't know, but I enjoyed them. I was entertained by them, but I also knew that it wasn't quite right for both of those artists.
For sure. Evan, real quick around the table here. Any no movies this year? Nothing jumped out at you?
No, nothing really.
Oh, fair enough. Power Metal Mike?
The Dirt.
The Dirt, yeah.
I did watch it. I'm going to agree with Brian. The same thing happened in that movie as well. It's all not true.
Yeah.
But did I enjoy it? Yes, I did. And would I watch it again? Yeah, you damn right I would. So
Entertaining.
it was entertaining. I can't say any more than that.
And Necronaut.
You know, I watched a lot of movies last year. Might even have a record for it, but I've got nothing for recent 2019 in sight.
One I think that might have slipped your mind, maybe Lords of Chaos movie. Did you see it?
Yeah, but you know, I felt it was very inaccurate. You know,
Again, like we were saying earlier with the other two guys. Yeah.
yeah. I think, you know, it was interesting to see some of it brought to life. Particular like the dead scene and him shooting his head off and all that.
Yeah.
But you know, I feel there was just a lot of things that, you know, they were just put out there in the wrong way, and it's really difficult when the bands, the people that were involved in these times, aren't standing behind it. I know Mayhem did a bit, but you know, Varg from Birdsome, he's not standing behind it. You know, the Dark Throne guys are kind of, well, what the hell? I don't know, man. It's, yeah.
Fair enough. For me, the Slayer movie, the Rush movie, and I saw a great documentary called Band versus Brand about the evolution of bands, where members, they transcend the membership of the band. It becomes a brand unto itself, even though members come and go. So,
like Alice Cooper.
Like Alice Cooper, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap up on a high note before we finish up. A couple quick minutes. Anticipations of the year. I guess start with Brian. What do you look for in 2020?
Well, this is weirding me out. Why would Iron Maiden be sitting on an album for like the last 6-8 months or whatever, and God only knows when it's going to come out? It's going to come out in 2020. I think that's pretty much a given. You know, the cat's out of the bag on this baby, but we know nothing about it, so there's anticipation on this thing. Hopefully it's good. Megadeth's got a new one coming out sometime.
Yeah.
There's indications of Ugly Kid Joe. So there's lots of big bands that have stuff coming out. So looking forward to those.
All right, we got about 1 minute left, so we're going to blast through it. Ev, anticipation.
Yeah, last year I played Victorious with Legends, the Dinosaur Warfare, Legend of the Power Source EP. And they're still continuing their theme of real issues that affect people's lives with their upcoming full-length album, Space Ninjas from Hell. And I'm looking forward to that.
Me too. Power Metal Mike.
Since we got 1 minute, the biggest power metal band in the world, Halloween.
Yeah.
Massive song rating. Kai Hansen coming back. Not mentioning Kiss. Not that I don't like him. I do. He doesn't write. So I'm looking forward to see what Kiss is going to do with Andy and Mikey.
And Necronaut, you were saying
Ozzy Osbourne and Paradise Lost has one coming out in the spring, so I'm looking forward to that.
And that's all it is. I'll tell you about some of my things I'm looking forward to in 2020 later. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us on the 2019 year that was, the Year in Review show here on Megawatt Mayhem. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And you can check us out online, facebook.com, and you can watch and listen to this episode through the podcast at your convenience. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.